Good evening, everyone. I'm not going to technically call this meeting to order because we did that at 6:30 when we started and just returned from an executive session where we discussed some litigation on our affordable housing plan. But I'm going to move to resume our public session and start with item 6. It's with a heavy heart, but with a lot of appreciation and excitement that tonight is Council President Mackey's last meeting after 26 years of service plus to this borough on council and beyond. David unfortunately is ill, but joining us via Zoom. And as a special part of our send-off, we are honored to have the official township crier for Hopewell Township has been able to join us tonight. Thank you, Stan Sepsing, for joining us. And I'll turn the meeting over to you for the presentation.
That's the staff of authority. All right, this is going to be a little loud. All right, we're going to follow the old tradition of colonial town criers, opening the meeting with the ringing of the bell. And the call. Oh, yays! Oh, yays! Oh, yay! That means in French, hear me. You all know what a town crier is from Hollywood, the movies, you've seen them over the years. And they stereotype the hear ye, hear ye. Historically, no town crier ever said that. Hear ye in Old English means hear you. All right. Town criers didn't want to hear you. They wanted you to hear me. And the reason for that was a town crier just didn't make announcements. They were the town clerks of the era. The tradition of town criers goes back to medieval times where the system of heralds was created by the kings across Europe. And they had to have heralds to educate the public. They had to read the decrees that the king made. They had heralds from the church to read church decrees. And they did that because illiteracy was rampant at the time. But at the time of the Renaissance and the Protestant Reformation, reading became more common. And the heralds evolved into criers when they incorporated towns in big cities called marketplace towns. And they had mayors and town councils that passed laws, made decrees. They had courts which made decisions, and the courts made decrees. Nothing became official unless a town crier read it into the record, and they still do that today. So the town crier was a lot more than an announcer. He was the town clerk. And over the years, as literacy and newspapers came, you no longer needed to make announcements. So the town criers morphed into full-time clerks. The clerk of the time. In colonial times, it would be unheard to have a woman clerk, but times have rapidly changed. So that's a little bit of the history of the town crier. Now today, the tradition is coming back as a ceremonial type thing. The flashy uniform, you can use the town crier today. I function as an MC, and I read proclamations when requested by the township. I've led parades for Pennington, and I've been asked tonight to read a very special proclamation. So without further ado, we will read this proclamation. And it will be read in the tradition that a town crier of colonial times would have done. It's a little bit embellished. In appreciation of council member David Mackey for his longtime service and commitment to the Borough of Hopewell. Whereas Council President David Mackey has faithfully and honorably served the residents of the Borough of Hopewell for 26 years. As a dedicated member of the Borough Council, and whereas throughout his nearly 3 decades of service, Councilman Mackey consistently demonstrated an unparalleled commitment, intelligence, and work ethic, giving countless hours of his time to ensure the well-being and prosperity of the borough. And whereas Councilman Mackey possessed an extraordinary talent for navigating the inevitable challenges of municipal governance, demonstrating patience, integrity, and grace under pressure. And whereas Councilman Mackey's deep commitment to the borough was first demonstrated in 1996, when he rallied residents and provided vital environmental expertise to successfully block the dense development of the Rushland Track, ultimately leading to its preservation as a cherished open space and welcome expansion of Hopewell Park. And whereas Councilman Mackey's extensive background, including his degree in geology, his 30 years as environmental consultant, and his subsequent pursuit of a second master's degree in public policy from Princeton University, have endowed his services on Borough Council with invaluable scientific and technical insight, ensuring policy decisions were always grounded in rigorous data, deep respect for the borough's natural environment. And whereas, as a professional geologist, Councilman Mackey brought a unique and invaluable wealth of knowledge and technical expertise to the council, significantly benefiting key municipal decisions and long-term planning through sometimes complex and controversial issues, providing that his skin was indeed thicker than the bedrock he studied. Whereas he worked tirelessly on critical infrastructure issues, most notably dedicating immense effort and countless hours to the borough's water utility, especially during the past 2 years of complex decisions regarding its future. And whereas Councilman Mackey also served with distinction on the planning board, contributing his insightful perspective to guide and the responsible development and future of our community. And whereas throughout his tenure, Councilman Mackey distinguished himself not only as a dedicated public servant, but also as a highly engaging conversationalist, a man who never met a short answer he couldn't expand into a delightful history lesson. Hey, maybe after my own. I had to throw that in. Whereas his service has been defined.
His ability to distill. Yes.
Okay, on that.
Yeah.
My little ad lib lost my place. His ability to distill complex municipal issues into discussions that could, on occasion, span the length of a small feature film was simply a testament to his depth of knowledge and how much care he held for our borough. And whereas his service has been defined by his deep love for the borough and its people, always striving to do his absolute best, resulting in a positive and enduring impact on the quality of life for all residents. And whereas Councilman Mackey's devotion, integrity, and contributions will be profoundly missed, leaving a void that will be impossible to fill, both in his official capacity and as a respected colleague and friend. And whereas we recognize that his loving wife, Mary, will now rightfully have him all to herself after sharing him with the borough for so long. And we extend our deepest gratitude to her for her patience and support for finally being able to enjoy a peaceful, meeting-free evening. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the mayor and council of the Borough of Hopewell, County of Mercer, State of New Jersey, that we hereby express our deepest appreciation, profound respect, and sincere gratitude to Councilman David Mackey for his extraordinary 26 years of tireless and devoted service, and extend our very best wishes to him and Mary for a long and well-deserved retirement from public service. Be it further resolved that a copy of this proclamation be spread in full in the official minutes of the Borough of Hopewell, signed of the mayor and the council.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. Thank you. What a gift. Thank you so much.
One more traditional thing. A man of his accomplishments in colonial times would get 3 cheers. All right, it's hip, hip, huzzah. Everybody stand. All together. Hip, hip, huzzah. Hip, hip, huzzah. Hip, hip, huzzah. And the position of the hat. The Councilman Mackey. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
It was an honor to read such a proclamation to such a distinguished man.
Well,
And obviously, I think a fellow historian. And that, I do a lot of these presentations, not only as town crier, I play 12 different characters from the colonial period through the Civil War. Next presentation is this Saturday, Lambertville Library. I will be a Delaware River ferryman, explaining the use of ferries in colonial times and their impact on transportation and the economy, and their use during the crossing, especially at Lambertville. And then we have the landing, December 14th. That's the rehearsal to the crossing. Full displays on both sides of the river. It's a fun day. And I thank you for having me. You put the best leg forward. That's where that expression comes from.
Thanks for coming. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
thank you so much.
And Bill.
And thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was an honor to have you here to help us recognize Council President Mackey. I know speaking for myself, we'll have.
It was different. All right, gentlemen.
Uh,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was just wonderful, and I really appreciate it. I was going to say something later, but maybe I'll say it now and try not to make it a feature film. But you know, when I started on council, it was really because I was inspired by people that I met that were on council and planning board back in the early days when I was involved with the Rule and Tract. And it wasn't that I had an axe to grind. I just became aware of this incredible network of people that volunteer for the borough. I mean, and work for the borough, and what they were doing and how they worked together. And I decided that I wanted to be a part of that. I thought that would be an interesting thing to do. And it was, second only to marrying my wife, it was the best decision I ever made. I mean, the word privilege has all sorts of weight to it now that sometimes, but I think it's the right word. It's been an incredible privilege to serve in this community, because of the vast spectrum of people that I have been able to serve with on council, on planning board, in all sorts of other capacities. It is incredibly satisfying to be able to pull your resources together with other people that have other skills and life experience and focus on a problem, try to figure something out for the town with a shared sense of purpose, and to be able to do that together. And I've just gotten such joy and satisfaction from doing that every day. And I can't really properly express my gratitude to all of you for how great it's been to be able to serve together. It really has been an extraordinary thing. And I'm also not going away. I mean, I'm around, that's what Sky always says. I'll be around. I have to probably be taught the fine line between being helpful and meddling, but you'll hear from me, and I'll be around when I'm needed. And but it's just, I just feel such gratitude for all of this, for being able to serve with all of you, and some of you who are no longer with us. I've actually been on with, 4 different mayors. I mean, George Padgett originally, and David Nettles, and then Mayor Anzano, and now Ryan, which is really something. But anyway, and thank you so much for that proclamation. It was really wonderful, and means a great deal. And I also, and thank you to the town crier, because anyway, that's the main thing I wanted to say. It's been wonderful, and I really appreciate it, and I so enjoy working with all of you. And the other thing I'll just add is, in addition to all the volunteers, I mean, the borough staff, I've worked through, several administrators, obviously, Michelle Hovan with 20 years side by side, and Reggie, I don't even know how long, Reggie, it's been quite a while. But our public works and water department, I mean, the people that keep this town going do it because they always put in way more than 100%, and they do it every day. And some people see it and some people don't. But together with all the volunteers, they're the backbone of this community. I don't think we would be here as a small town if it weren't for that level of commitment and dedication. And I'm thankful for it every day. And so thanks to all of you again.
Thank you. It's been an honor. It continues to be a pleasure to get to work with you. And I trust you will find that balance. I hope the balance favors the borough and our ability to continue to work with you and gain your insight and guidance. If anyone else wants to say, but we have plenty of other things. It's a little odd, but when the last meeting is the beginning of the month, and we still have another month to go. And Dave will continue to be doing a lot of things behind the scenes between now and our reorganization meeting, for sure. But it was a real pleasure to be able to honor you formally tonight, and in a couple other ways in the near future.
Thank you.
Moving on then, we have our, report of Director of Public Works and Water and Sewers. If anyone has any comments or council or questions for our administrator on these, now will be the time. Okay, next, as we do, and we'll continue to do at each of our meetings, a very brief update on the sale of our water system. Tonight on our agenda is a resolution that would formally allow the execution of the contract, following the referendum in November. That would then be sent to the state comptroller's office. They had already approved the draft form, but they would get the final, and for their approval. The next step would be a $320,000 deposit to be placed, and payment of the transaction costs for the borough of the contract. Over the next, we believe, 6 months, is probably the best estimate of the work ahead towards the transition. The closing would be expected sometime in 2026. Best guess might be late spring, early summer, but there is quite a bit of work to do between now and then on the transition once we get under contract. And ultimately, the borough and New Jersey American will work together to develop information sharing procedures about what to expect. But ultimately, there will be no immediate changes for your next bill will come from the borough, and for the next quarter, for example, you'd still pay it the same way. We're expecting announcements about the transition in the spring, with very specific and we hope easy instructions and outreach about what to expect, what to do, and what is happening with that. Until then, no. Until that happens and we close in the transition, borough will continue to maintain and bill for essentially our water system. One other thing that we, through the process, we committed to look at our sewer rates as well, and we would relook at that, I think, at the beginning of next year to try to adjust our sewer rates to make sure that our commitment to every tier of user ultimately is paying the appropriate amounts. And the next step of that would be beginning of next year to start exploring those rate structures. So with that, we'll open up the meeting to our first of several public comment opportunities. Mayor and council will take comments first from members of the public attending in person, then from those attending via Zoom. Speakers will be limited to 5 minutes for this first session. No immediate action can be taken on any public comment issue. To make a comment or ask a question during the meeting via Zoom, push the raised hand button and we will recognize you and move you over. I'll also ask, we do have 2 public hearings on 2 ordinances. You're welcome to make comments on any topic whatsoever during the public comment portions. Ideally, the best time for a comment on an item that is being heard on second reading, which includes Local 57, or the Comcast cable contract, which I'm sure everyone is here to talk about. It would be best to do it then. It could be part of the record of the public hearing on those items. So with that, please, in person, welcome, come up to the front or start pushing your raised hand button.
Just a question.
Well, if you could come up to the podium so we can just make sure we hear you on the come.
Just open to whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'll just ask if you could come to the front so we can make sure there's people watching at home.
Right.
So there's a podium there.
Oh.
If you stand,
This is our first time.
welcome. If you could just state.
I am Jessie Krause. This is my husband, Alex Kessler.
Nice to meet you.
Does that ring a bell?
Yes.
I look for you. Mercer Me has us in an article this week, Jessie Krause and Alex Kessler, don't get much sleep at night. Now, the reason I'm bringing that is that, we're, working with David Ackerman for Dark Sky. And, the lights in the, parking lot of the elementary school point out, not down. And we are asking for the lights to be turned toward the street, which they're supposed to be. They're not supposed to be facing out. They go right into our home. So we just want to know what we can do to change that.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't spoken to the school board, but I noticed that it's, you know, you can see it right there, on the picture, they have about 7 or 8 thousand watts of high pressure sodium lights there, and they just shine every which way. And there's another building farther down on 83, Princeton, that has more whiter lights that just shine out every which way. And you, it's kind of offensive, and you don't even know why, because you know the motorcycles are out there at night. People can do whatever they want out in the parking lot, and I don't know how that's actually protecting the school or what the purpose of the lights are. So that was one thing. And when I've gone to other schools, I don't see the lights on, like in particular the big fields that they have behind the police department and everything. Those lights are never on. So like if it's to protect something, I'm not sure what it's actually protecting. Any direction you could give us would be really helpful. Just not that it's a big deal, but at the same time too, Hopewell's a beautiful place. It's known for its natural beauty, for all the preservation, like you talked about the Reuben Tract and other ones and things, and it seems silly that the school would just light up the whole place like it's Christmas all the time. You could literally play tennis out there, you know, so.
So I think, speaking for myself, but I think for council, because we are very much supportive of the dark sky efforts, and we are hopeful to join both in the certification and an ordinance hopefully soon. I know it's been a challenge on some of the technical items for us to get through. Perhaps if you'd like to loop me in personally, I'd be happy to introduce you to maybe some of the district officials who might be the good contacts to talk to about. I wish, for many reasons, not just the lighting, that we had more control over the school district. They are technically, I'd say, above us in the pecking order. In fact, when they do projects, they don't even really need our approval from a land use perspective. But I personally am in agreement and happy to help get that conversation going with whether it's, I know he's about to retire, but the facilities person, Tim Quinn, or someone like that there to help connect and see if there's any reason. And sometimes there's not reasons for things, it's just they were that way, and finding the right person to understand that there may be a better way to do it might be the way. I'm not sure, but I'm personally happy to help. But we, as a town, I don't think officially we have any ability to control them. If we did, we would be using it for many things, perhaps.
They've been doing a lot too.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, yeah, so we'll, I mean, he's waiting to hear on PSC&G, because the school apparently says it's not their lights, it's PSC&G's or something, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well,
But
we'll see.
Yeah.
who knows? It's
Yeah.
kind of like a Charles Dickens novel.
Yeah, because it may, well, it's peculiar how some of those things work. They almost kind of not rent them, but it's a PSC&G, like school district pays for it and it's on some kind of
Right,
schedule of things.
taxpayer, yeah,
Well, that is true. I mean, we're all paying for that.
yeah, okay, well.
Thank you.
so much.
And thank you, in addition to what you're doing, you know, for your own property, what you're doing to help with the dark sky initiative in general, it very much appreciate it. Everyone involved in that has our deep appreciation, because it is important to our community that we, you know, can meet there. So thank you.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in person? I see squinting to see we might have one hand raised. Oh, come on up before we go online, please. Just introduce yourself, and you don't have to give your street address, but perhaps you're a town resident and name.
Hi, I'm Jolyn Maloney. I'm actually not a town resident. I'm here from the Watershed Institute. I'm the new municipal policy specialist there. And this is in reference to the resolution tonight going up for the regional approach for the watershed improvement plan. We at the Watershed Institute just wanted to give our thanks to the Hopewell Borough for participating and considering joining the regional approach. We also wanted to give our thanks to Michelle Hoban, because she has been an active participant in the meetings for the Lower Mill stuff. And that was it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So perhaps for the public's benefit, there's an action item on that in our consent agenda. Our administrator will give a little bit of an update on it, but it's a regional approach led by the Watershed and Montgomery Township. They've received a nice DEP grant to help our whole region work on a study that each town has to do, but when we do it all together, we'll be able to do it both for less money and have a better product, frankly. So I really appreciate everything the Watershed does, and in this case for corralling most of our neighbors, maybe not all, but as many as they've gotten, it's been much appreciated. So thank you for the watershed's leadership there, and welcome to your new role. We'll go to our online folks.
Melissa Copeland is about to be promoted to panelist.
All right. Melissa, I will vamp a little bit. I know it takes a second for you to move over, but once you gain control, you're welcome to unmute and turn your camera on, and we will welcome you and let you address the room.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Good, thank you. Let me start by saying to Mr. Mackey, I'm really sorry. I have nothing controversial to discuss with you, and I love our back and forth. So I will miss that because you always listen and respond. So and thank you for all you did. I have a question. Last meeting, I asked the board about because there's a deadline for this is about 57. Sorry, Ryan. Just about a deadline for the site plan to be submitted. There was, I think it's 6 months or something. And the minutes just say I asked a question about the date. My question is if indeed they went past that 6 months or whatever that time period is, what is the consequence? Do they pay us money? Do they, there has to be a consequence if you sign an agreement and a contract. So that was my question and still is. So I don't know if anybody has the answer, but I would appreciate it. Thanks.
I'll note my inability and lack of knowledge, to be honest with you, to answer that, just for those in the public, that particular item. I've recused myself. One of my colleagues is an attorney for the redeveloper in, not in this project, but in other projects that they do. So I do not participate, but if there's someone on our team who happens to know, that'd be great. Otherwise, Melissa, I could direct somebody to get back to you with the answer if nobody here does.
Okay, I'd appreciate, because that was the question I asked last month, so.
Yeah, I think we'll have to get back to you, because I don't believe they've missed the deadline, but we will get back to you on if there, unless Dave, you know.
Thank you, Deb. But it was clear that it was a 6 month time, the time was over, so.
Okay. Yeah,
Thank
we will
you.
have to circle back. Thanks, Melissa.
Okay, let me know. Thank you.
Good. So,
Oh,
yep,
great.
I think Melissa's good. I think so. Yeah.
Okay, great. So it's so interesting that Melissa had a question based on the minutes from last month, because that's my question as well. It says in the minutes that I asked a question about the DPW grants and requested funding information to be made public. I actually asked a larger question about what all the money is that went into our debt that the sale of the water system will be paying off. So that, and I received something from you, I think. Yeah. So I received a spreadsheet with some numbers and some council people got it, some didn't. There's still not real clarity about what is going into that debt. And then the secondary question did relate to the DPW, because in the spreadsheet that you sent, it said that there was already $1.5 million in debt towards the DPW building. And so looking for clarity about, since we haven't done anything with the DPW yet, have we been paying debt service on that money? Like, there's just not a lot of clarity. So one of the things I did ask that was captured accurately, because Jerry suggested that I look in the budget, the user-friendly budget online, and it really isn't very clear to someone who isn't looking at the budgets all the time. Like, just what are all the grants that we have so we can celebrate them and we can be really excited for the borough that everyone's done that hard work, and then what is all of the debt and how we can just all be better educated about it. So those were just my clarifications about that. Can anyone help me and others understand what has gone into that $6.4 million debt? Like, how do we need to?
So I don't know if anyone here will be able to give a lot of information from the hip. What we do have our financial advisor, Brian, if you want to, we happen to be here tonight where our Brian Morris from Phoenix Advisors is here. Maybe if you have I'm not gonna time you, but if you have a short version of that, and maybe you can help us all collectively get to a place where we can figure out the best way to put the information that would be helpful to you.
Yeah, that would be great, and it's not just me, right, like, I'm not the only one asking about
Understood,
this, but, and then I was also totally confused, cause in one of the emails that I got from you, it said that our CFO would be getting back to us, and I didn't realize we had a CFO and never heard from that person, so it just, so, like, who is keeping track of all of that? And it would be great to know, thank you.
So, yeah, hi, Brian Morris, Phoenix Advisors, municipal advisor to the borough. So, yeah, go for it. I prepared, as you indicated, a recapitulation of all of the borough's debt by project. That's really the extent of the detail that I have. I can work with the CFO, Diane, to try to get more information specifically as it relates to that DPW question that you had.
It's not, that's the.
No, I understand, but that specific answer to that question. I guess there's a couple different things going on. So that spreadsheet was just a project list of the debt that's outstanding. That doesn't always necessarily tie into what you'll find in the financial documents because for whatever reason, the state counts certain things as debt, even if you haven't issued the debt, if you've authorized the borrowing, even if you never spend or borrow it, they count it as debt. So sometimes the numbers don't exactly match up. You also, obviously, we gave some presentations on the water sale over the last couple of months. That had some debt numbers in there that also won't exactly match up because those were forward looking once the sale actually closes, which was a year away from the numbers that I gave you. So it's short answer is very complicated. There's a lot of different moving parts, but I think I can certainly work with Diane and get you better answers to exactly what you want. I think maybe there's maybe that I don't have all the answers that she has, and she may not have all the things that I have. So maybe we just need to kind of get together and make sure we're answering your question.
That'd be great.
I'll just add one thing that adds to my confusion and unfortunately makes it really tough. Many of the some of the bonds in the list are kind of maybe not simple, but it's like, hey, it's X project for this bond. Like when you bought a house, you borrow for it. Some of them are kind of refinancing of little mini borrowings that you do with a regular course called bond anticipation notes, where it's one chunk of refinancing for lots of little things that aren't necessarily tied to a project that you might think your teeth into, or say, well, that's not $5 million worth of stuff. It's lots of little tiny mini things. And then some of them are also, I guess, refinancing, where it's not like it's totally lost what it's from, but kind of the debt from an older project that might have been a bundle of those little mini borrowings refinanced. So it's some of them are kind of clean and like, look, this was for, whatever it was 2022, this was for a piece of what DPW should have been, or this is for, going back to buying the town hall would have been a bond at one point. But you probably won't see that on the list because it got rolled into when interest rates got better or the town decided to look at its finances and kind of gets commingled and you kind of, not that you lose track of which projects were, but it's not as simple to line by line. But I think I now understand what you're looking for, and I'm happy to work with maybe work with is not the right word, but collaborate or observe Brian and Diane. And probably one of the reasons Diane, we probably see her at a meeting maybe once a year at our budget. She's a part-time CFO. We're not big enough to have a full-time person. She's here, I think on and with many other towns. We get her a little bit, but she's not as present in the building because she mostly works nights and then in other towns that we share her with. I think I better understand and to your one of your other points that we haven't quite done yet, though, I do think it would be as we go forward with some of these other projects, having more information, like for DPW, we did a presentation, there will be more of those, getting a web page that maybe has the plans together, things like that, as we roll it forward. Just as an aside on that one, there are a couple other public things that will happen, in the near future. We're looking to have a tour opportunity. Is the one coming up, coffee on the 13th. We'll talk about that on later tonight. And there'll be a planning board presentation at some point as well on the actual design as that moves forward.
I would just echo Susan's suggestion of a summary sheet or information, because I want to say just as a council member, I would find that extremely helpful. Because there are so many variables. It is extremely complicated, and so to just be told to just look at the budget can actually, it's not really helpful, but to have the basics summarized, I think would be beneficial for council as well as residents. So
That makes sense. Yeah, unfortunately, the way the state works, no one document kind of has
Right.
everything, so.
which is why
we can put that
creating that
together.
one document,
Yep.
and I'd be, happy to help be a pair of eyes looking at it going, because I am someone who is, I don't have you want it to be able to be read by a layperson. I'm a great layperson.
And just make sure we capture all of it. I think there were two parts. We were kind of talking the debt side. Something similar with grants too would be good, right?
Right,
Is that what I heard? Okay.
that would be
Yes,
amazing,
yes.
like, we got, the
Yes.
pedestrian safety committee, the whole committee worked really hard to get that grant.
Yeah.
And it would be awesome to see, we've seen the press releases about it, but to really see, boom, this, we got,
This is what we're doing.
the committee got this much money, here's what's been spent so far, look at this great.
Okay,
thing.
that's pretty easy. We have received $0 of it, nothing's been spent. It's a federally tied grant, so they are very slow. In the last 2 months, we've chosen and been assigned our engineer partner that the state will pay for to start designing and the outreach program of figuring out what pieces will be done. So we're hoping, in the next year timeframe, we'll start to kind of ramp up outreach of, this is where a beacon could go and this is what it'll look like, those type of things. Unfortunately, it's not the kind of thing where they send us a check.
Yeah.
Right,
So-
but there's been other grants, like,
Right.
their grant for and I don't mean to be shouting from the
That's-
director, for like the railroad station and all these like great things, and it would be wonderful because it really is something to be celebrated, that, and they've been working so hard on that.
I would add on that because I know the waiting for a grant can be a very tedious process. And if there was a grant summary sheet, like, we heard, I forget how long ago the grant was announced. But if there was a summary sheet, so somebody go, where is that grant? You could just look at the summary. Oh, it is in process. That it's not just like, are they just not spending the grant? No, it's federal money and they don't have the grant yet. So it's, but I think, again, summary sheets really.
Yeah, it's a good balance to find about how to track that. It is a lot of, I'll be honest, I think what we talked about with Brian just now is not an insignificant amount of work, that will. I think we're gonna do it, but it's not, unfortunately with not having all of the talent on these things in-house, there are some additional costs, but these all make sense to me to invest in. We just gotta find the right balance. Frankly, sometimes it's, and definitely not this time, makes sense just to wait till questions. That hasn't worked with this one, admittedly. Or, creating a system of having information out there. There's a balance between whether you're putting a lot of work into creating information that's not quite what people want, but I think we got a good picture, and I think you've done a good job of expressing how this information, what information, and how it will be useful to be presented. So that's a good piece to work on.
Thank you.
Jerry, see anyone else online? If we're good. All right, so with that, I'll take a motion to close this first portion of the meeting to the public. Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we've got minutes from our November 6th meeting. I'm just noting that Mr. Cole's not or myself for one, but anyway, but I'll take a motion for those eligible.
That moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstaining, thank you. Next, before we get to item 11, and we'll have a presentation here as well, just as a reminder. And 4 items related to the Hopewell 57 redevelopment. I don't and cannot participate, and I have a standing recusal. For those who haven't been following this, I'm an attorney. One of my colleagues at my 200+ attorney law firm also represents the redeveloper, not in this project, but in some other things, and that is enough that decided it's too close to home for a conflict, so I do not participate. So with that, I'm going to physically step off and not be part of the conversation because our council president is remote, I will hand the next senior member, Deb Steeler, to handle this part of the meeting.
Yeah, Brian. All right, so Bridget, I guess we have to read the ordinance.
Ordinance authorizing a tax abatement and pilot agreement with Hopewell 57 Urban Renewal Entity LLC.
Tara, do you want to start us off, please?
Yes, so I'm not gonna say too much because I think you just saw a little preview of it. Brian did a very good presentation that hits all of the big points. But what this ordinance is, it is an ordinance to approve a financial agreement with the redeveloper of the Hopewell 57 site for a tax abatement or something that we call a pilot agreement, which stands for payment in lieu of taxes. So when we use the term pilot, it's an acronym for that. And under New Jersey's long-term tax exemption law, which is the law that authorizes municipalities to enter into these sorts of agreements, the governing body is required to approve such an agreement by an ordinance, which has a first reading, notice, and then now the public hearing, rather than just by a resolution, which is normally how we approve a lot of other agreements. But this, the long-term tax exemption law, requires the governing body to take the extra step and give the public notice and approve it by ordinance. And I did want to say that what this is tonight is approving the payment in lieu of taxes agreement with the developer and not approving the development. That will be done by the planning board. It is my understanding that it is anticipated that they will be before the board in the first quarter of next year. I believe sooner rather than later, sometime next year, January, February, something like that. So additionally, I do believe they will be within that 6-month timeline set forth in the redevelopment agreement. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brian because his presentation is much better than anything I can tell you.
Thanks, Tara.
Thank you. Hello again. I prepared this presentation just to kind of take us all through some pilot basics, what is a pilot, what's the purpose of the pilot, and then of course talk a little specifically about this project. So this is on the Cooltronic Rockwell manufacturing site, 57 Hamilton Ave. So the first couple slides are just kind of, a very bit overview. Tara touched a little bit on this. The pilot's a payment in lieu of tax. So essentially it's a tax incentive program that that municipalities can make use of to help spur economic development or projects that are otherwise not financially feasible. So the exemption can be on both the land and the improvement or just the improvement. Under the pilot agreement, the municipality keeps 95% of the pilot and remits 5% to the county by statute. The amounts under our municipal lien, just like conventional taxes. So if it's not paid, there are certain foreclosures and other legal items that the town can or the municipality can employ. Generally, they're for a 30-year period. They can be for less, but I would say typically they're mostly for that 30 years. And after that, in the 31st year, the property reverts to just a normal ratable conventional taxes, just like the other properties in the town. There's also, we'll get into this a little bit more in a couple slides. There's different formulas to calculate what the payment is, because again, it's a negotiated payment in lieu of a traditional tax structure. So there's percentages of revenue, there's just dollar minimums, and then there's also percentages of conventional taxes that are prescribed under the law in 20%, 40%, 60%, 80% that can be enforced throughout the 30-year term. The town municipality also receives an administrative fee of 2% of the pilot to help offset the costs of administering the pilot. So what's the purpose of the pilot? As I mentioned, it allows municipalities to help projects that otherwise cannot be developed because of financial constraints. They either can't deliver the financial returns needed to warrant the equity investment to build a multi-million-dollar project, or can't obtain private financing. So a lot of times, especially if there is some kind of environmental remediation or issues with the site or large amounts of affordable housing, the project cannot be done without this type of or some type of tax incentive. There's also bond financing, redevelopment area bond or RAB, which we'll talk about in a little bit as well. Generally, it's a market-driven solution for the items I mentioned, whether it's affordable housing, environmental remediation, those types of project hurdles. It also allows the municipality to have increased decision-making power throughout the process. So, kind of as Tara mentioned, there's a redevelopment plan, there's different site approvals, planning board, so the municipality can control the density, control what kind of project it is, more so than if it was just a developer coming in, without the powers of the redevelopment law here. And at the end of the day, it's really a partnership between the municipality and the developer. If the project does better than expected, both entities share in the upside, the financial upside. And if the project is getting off the ground a little slower or not quite doing as well as expected, the developer is not overburdened with a fixed tax obligation. We've seen on a lot of revenue or income-based properties, I'll use like office space or hotels as an example. During the COVID pandemic, they weren't generating the revenue. There were tax appeals. There's a lot of issues that can stem from that if things are not going as smoothly as they'd like. So this helps offset those risks. So the project here is a 5-building residential development. It is the idea is to return this manufacturing site to its highest and best use. It's currently underutilized as a more or less vacant office space. In addition, it provides 24 units of affordable housing, and the pilot, by virtue of how it works, is a non-tax, long-term, fixed source of revenue for the borough. The project, as proposed, is 120 units. The allowable maximum is 130, but the proposal is 120. It'll include on-site parking, amenities, other improvements. 20% of the units will be affordable, so that's the 24 units that I just mentioned, and the other 80% will be market rate. I will say typically we see projects with 10 or 15% affordable units, so the 20 is on the higher side, and was something that the Borough Council built into that redevelopment plan, going back to what I said previously about having an increased decision-making power. So that was a priority of theirs. So the market rate units are 45% 1-bedroom, 55% 2-bedroom. They average about 1,100 square feet, and the rents will range from $2,700 to $3,200 per month. As part of the conditions of the redevelopment agreement as well, there's a performance bond that's obtained by the developer to ensure funds will be available to complete the project. If something were to happen, that bond could be called and a new redeveloper could step in and take over. So just to touch a little bit on the site challenges, it's a 4.3 acre site. As I mentioned, it's underutilized. It's not been developed for 25 years, despite prior attempts. I'm aware of at least 2 different developers who have approached the borough over these years. They engaged. They seemed like it might have legs, but then ended up walking away or falling through. There's significant drainage and flooding issues. It was subject to environmental contamination. Is currently potentially subject to more remediation. It was a brownfield manufacturing site. It also will require costly demolition to bring down the structure that's currently there. It currently generates about $78,000 in total taxes per year. It's split just conventionally as any taxes are. The borough's about 23%, so that's $18,000 per year. County's about 21%, which is $17,000. School district is 54%, which is $42,000, and then the fire district's about 2% or $1,500. Just to note that the site has been subject to multiple tax appeals over the years, and there's certainly the potential for that to be reduced further. It's essentially lost half of its value in tax revenue over the last 10 years. So while, you know, the 78,000 might seem like an okay source of revenue, I mean, that there is a I shouldn't say likelihood, a chance that could be reduced further in the future. The total cost of the project is about $44 million. And again, multiple millions of dollars of extraordinary costs built in there, such as some of the items I mentioned before: demolition, structural fill material, flood mitigation, just generally economies of scale. You know, 120 units is not a very large project in terms of building. So you lose some efficiencies there. And then, of course, the additional affordable housing, like 15 versus 20%. So the proposed pilot, these are the financial terms. So as I mentioned before, it's for 30 years, and it's based on a three-prong financial calculation. So in any given year, the borough would run a calculation to determine the pilot amount, and it would be based on the greater of a percentage of the developer's revenue, which we'll call AGR, which is annual gross revenue, a percentage of otherwise applicable conventional taxes, that's that 20, 40, 60, 80 phase in I mentioned earlier, or just a flat dollar amount of $120,000. So that phases in over the 30 years, as you can see in the presentation there. The first 15 years are on the lower side, and that's designed to offset the additional costs from those items that I mentioned. The first 15 are about 3%, 3.21% of AGR, or a minimum of 120,000. That increases between 4 to 9% over years 16 through 21. And then in the final 8 years or so, it's 10% of their annual gross revenue, or the 40, 60, 80% of conventional taxes. So again, the idea is to give a little bit more of a break on the front end to help offset the costs of all of those extraordinary items, as well as the additional affordable housing, and then ramp it up as that 30-year period goes on. And then again, in year 31, it would revert to conventional taxes. The developers also requested that the borough issue a redevelopment area bond, a RAB, to help provide additional support for the project. Specifically, those funds will go towards offsetting the cost of the additional 5% affordable housing and other public improvements like sidewalks, tree lining, landscaping, etc. So a redevelopment area bond is essentially a financial instrument that's allowable under state law that allows the developer to leverage future pilot revenues as an upfront source of funds to help complete the project. This redevelopment area bond is for $300,000. It's issued as non-recourse, which means it has no impact on the borough's balance sheet, credit rating. It's not counted as debt for any legal or state statutory purpose. It's simply a financial instrument to help leverage that future money. The payments on that debt are essentially made by the developer above and beyond the numbers here to themselves. If the bond does not get paid, the developer is just defaulting to themselves. It has no impact on the borough. So again, it's just essentially a mechanism to help support the capital stack of the project by leveraging future revenues of the developer. So the next two slides will show a graphical illustration of the pilot. So this was the original proposal that the developer came in with. Again, the pilot in year one was 120,000 versus 78,000 in current taxes. It was fairly modest, as you can see by the blue lines there. Over the 30-year period, it increased to about 285,000 versus 140,000 in conventional taxes if the borough did nothing with that property. In total, over the 30 years, the borough would collect about $5.4 million. So after multiple months of negotiations with the developer's team, trying to strike a better balance where both the developer could secure private financing and equity investment for the $44 million, and also the borough could maximize the amount of revenue that they would be obtaining through this pilot. The proposed pilot was was adjusted as I explained earlier, and this is just the graphical representation of that. So you can see at the beginning, there is that discount that I mentioned. So it's again $120,000 pilot versus the $78,000 in taxes. But then you can see around the middle of the pilot, it starts to ramp up significantly, such that towards the end of the pilot, the payment is $1.05 million versus the $140,000 of taxes. And overall, it's $11.6 million of net revenue to the borough. So essentially double the prior proposal. The next slide just shows essentially just a snapshot of those revenues. It shows the cash flow of how the pilot works. You know, again, not to go too far in the weeds here, but essentially the developer produces gross income from their rents. That's the AGR after applying a vacancy factor, just because every unit won't be rented all the time. So that produces the annual service charge, $120,000. So I mentioned that figure earlier. The borough collects an administrative fee of 2%, which is $2,000. 5% has to be remitted to the county, which is $6,000, which results in a net revenue or net annual service charge to the municipality of $116,000 in year one. And then as we showed on the prior graph, that would increase over time to that 11.6 figure over the 30-year period. Again, just the benefits of the pilot is it provides a predictable fixed revenue stream over a 30-year period that's not taxes. So it's not beholden to the tax base and to the tax rate. It's a separate and apart revenue source that could be used to lower property taxes, stabilize property taxes, complete capital projects. Essentially, it's a revenue stream that's not taxes that can be used for any borough priority. Again, just to put it a little more perspective, the pilot in year one is $98,000 more than the borough currently receives from the property. The gross pilot's $40,000 more than all taxing entities currently receive from the property. Also, as I mentioned earlier, if the developer's revenue increases, the pilot will also increase. So both parties are sharing in the upside. The borough has downside protection in the form of that $120,000 minimum. And then finally, of course, the school impact on the school district is always a very important consideration. Even though it's 120 units, you know, we don't expect an overly large impact to the school district from school children. However, the borough council is committed to working with the school district to make sure that they offer some type of financial support. They've already had at least one meeting with the district stakeholders, you know, to make sure that you know, the borough is supportive of the project. Because as I mentioned before, the school district does not receive funds under the pilot, so they want to make sure that they're working with them. Just one quick thing on that note as well. The school does not lose or gain any money from the pilot as well. They are a budget-based levy, so they strike their budget and they receive that fund. So whether this property is on the tax roll under a pilot or just disappears tomorrow, the school district would still receive the same amount of money to support their budget. But notwithstanding that, the borough council, as I mentioned, is supportive and making sure that they'll work with the district. So try to cover all the important things and not overly bore everyone. So I'll pause there for any questions or comments.
Thanks. Anybody council have a question?
My one comment is I know we are all, you know, supportive of the school district. I would love to see, and I know we cannot, you know, make any future council. We can't obligate a future council to do anything specific for the school district, but I would like to, it would be nice to have something at the beginning of the ordinance or something in writing other than just the idea that we're committed to working with the school district, because there will be children enrolled in school. There's no official mechanism that basically that's my big concern with pilot programs is it kind of leaves the schools out of the official loop. And I would just like to, I think it would be nice for the council to formally acknowledge, you know, that we intend to take into account the needs of the school. Because yes, the school will get funded, but if the school needs additional funding, it's gonna come from all the other taxpayers, so.
Yeah, I don't know if we can change the ordinance at this point, but we can, I mean, we definitely have committed to that with them, so maybe there's some other way we can.
I mean, up in the opening, the whereases, which aren't the legally binding, you know.
Yeah, but that would be a.
That's my.
Yeah, that's your opinion, that's fine.
Yeah, that would make me a lot more comfortable supporting the ordinance.
Right.
You look like you had something to say.
Yeah, just something different, yeah, so if we can move on from that.
Very good, yeah.
So, do you know what the estimated population increase would be with this development?
So we use the Rutgers Blaustein study demographic multipliers, which are fairly industry standard. So they project based on the unit count, the 120 units would result in about 240 residents.
Okay, and that's an increase of what percentage to the town?
Oh, that's a great question. I have that, but not.
I don't
right
know,
on
but
my
it's,
fingertips.
we've had that many people in town in the past, I think David, went over that in the past. That it's-
We're basically like,
we're
we're making up for the population that
Right.
we've lost over the,
Yeah, I
it
think.
would be good to know what that.
Yeah, I think the projection for
right.
kids is about 21 students at this point, so. it's-
Yeah, 20 students
Yeah,
using the
so
same.
not a huge
methodology.
impact to the school.
Yeah, I guess my point about this was, just the way you presented it, Brian, made it sound like this is suddenly extra money and there's no kind of cost that goes with it, but actually there will be extra residents, extra services, extra impact on a town, so it's not like a completely parallel revenue that we get, so there's no cost for us.
Yes, that's a great point. So, regarding the cost, so, in speaking with the administration, we couldn't necessarily really identify like our budget will go up exactly X because of these new residents. So it's kind of opaque, but I will say using like very rough, orders of magnitude costs, like on a per capita extrapolation of certain like public service or public safety line items, we came out with about $50,000. But again, I think that's probably overly conservative and overly high just because it doesn't really account for like efficiencies and economies of scale. And I mean, there's already technically, police and things are already servicing that area. So, but that was kind of what we came up as, kind of the back of the envelope. But yes, it's a good point. Yes.
And I did want to point out because of the way the community is set up, they will have to provide their own garbage service and snow plowing. That's in the development agreement.
Yeah. Yeah, so typically all we see would be an increase in public safety costs, which which is what that methodology is based on. But again, I would think it'd be lower than that.
Yeah, I believe the fire department has already done their study, and there'll be more studies as it goes to the planning board. I think a lot of that falls on the planning board, right?
Yeah, that is part of the redevelopment agreement required them to address those things at the planning board, They've got to consult with the fire department, consult with the police department about anything that would be an issue with this development if, Hopewell's fire department, I believe they've already said that based on the height of the building, it's not like they need to go out and buy a new truck.
Right.
And any road changes or traffic changes, that's gonna be the financial responsibility of the developer.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important
This
point.
isn't a development that triggers,
Right.
you often hear like the pro rata share of infrastructure improvements. This is not a development that's triggering anything like that. It's all the infrastructure improvements are on the developer.
Yeah.
They're either on site or very, very close to the site that they need to do it.
Yeah, I guess just one thing to add on the increase of population. So this is the first time I've seen the proposed rents for these units.
Yeah.
So obviously the developer is confident there is a market at this price point for these rents.
Yeah.
Given that we have no major employers in town and the prospect of a major employer coming in, where are the people gonna come from? How are they gonna pay these rents? Because it seems kind of pricey for Hopewell.
Well, I know from speaking with the developer, that they are confident in the ability to secure residents. I mean, I would just be speculating, but I mean, I think, if you're close to the township, Princeton, there's employment centers in the area.
Yeah, I would say the monthly rents, I was surprised at how high I wrote it down too. I think they'll have no problem securing. Residents might not be quite at that rent, but
So I think that's the point.
Wouldn't be, I don't think it'd be far off from it.
Right, I mean, we talked a lot about affordability in the last few months, and yet here we have this development, which is maybe gonna depend on people moving in as opposed to people already here.
But we are providing 24 affordable units.
Yeah.
those are the market.
Not
The market, yeah.
Oh, yeah, not the affordable unit prices.
Yes.
The affordable
Yeah.
unit prices are quite,
Understood. Yeah.
they're hovering around 1,100.
Okay.
They're around 1,100 a month.
Yeah.
Around 11, that's
Yeah,
good,
that's
yeah.
good. Yeah.
And these units won't be available for 2 years, 3 years?
David, you have to come up if you wanna comment, I'm sorry.
Oh, we should probably wait, I guess I would
Yeah.
recommend getting through the,
Yeah.
everybody's comments and then we can open up to the
Mhm.
public.
Right, okay, Tara, anything else you wanna say, or Brian?
I think I would like to add that the subcommittee put together to negotiate this. It was not a short negotiation.
Yeah.
It was very detailed, very looked into, and in looking at the numbers, essentially these pilots, it's not like you're trying to just fill the coffers of the developer. They tell you, like, this is what we anticipate is our return on investment and our return on equity. And it's not a huge boom. They are trying to get to a point where they can actually get an investor and get financing for it, and that's what the pilot does, kind of puts them over the.
Enables it to happen.
Right,
Yeah.
they're not coming in and saying, we're gonna make a,
Yeah.
50% return on investment here. It's a very,
Right.
but it's something that makes it feasible.
And also, we can't go into next year to make, substantial changes to this ordinance, this has to get done this year.
And the school has not, in the meeting that we had at the school, they they like to know that the offer's out there. They haven't identified sort of what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
We know it's not gonna be an outright cash contribution because that would have an impact on the budget, et cetera. It would be something, a shared service,
Potentially buying.
buying them something. They haven't identified what.
Yeah,
that-
the next is very detailed discussion with them, and we're very much in sync. I think
Maybe we can even it can just be memorialized in the minutes that we.
Yeah, that's fine. We
Hey,
can't change
Deb,
this.
can I make a comment? Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Very.
So the township passed a resolution earmarking money for Bear Tavern, so I think an easy solution, if I'm fine with the minutes, maybe we have a resolution at some point,
They actually have to pass
committing
the resolution.
something so we don't have to change the ordinance.
Yeah,
I think maybe once the meetings with the school district continue and they can
right,
collaboratively identify sort of what they would be looking for.
right.
Unfortunate ideas that I've had in the past and used, the borough can't do. We've done things like if you have a police department, you supply them school resource officer.
Right.
But
Yeah,
you obviously don't have the ability to do that, so I think we need to get.
yeah.
Probably not
We could
creative.
memorialize in these minutes that this council has an intention
Yeah.
to support the school district in an appropriate way, and then in next year to think about what if there is a resolution that we should do. I just
No, that's fair.
don't wanna forget, I wanna make sure.
We've had, as I said, we've already had 3 meetings with them and
Yeah,
very much.
I'm fairly
in sync.
confident
I
the
think
school
that's
district
great.
is not gonna let me forget.
Right.
But again, what was
I'm
that?
fairly confident the school district is not.
No, but it's also if we do it, in some
Right.
official capacity, 3 years
Okay.
from now, it's there.
If I may make one more comment,
Absolutely.
Tara mentioned it, and I kind of glossed over it, but we did have the subcommittee had a long, and I just want to emphasize, a long drawn out negotiation process. We looked at, changing the unit mix, density, affordable housing, we scrutinized their project costs. We really, part of my responsibility from the financial perspective is to review their pro forma and make sure, like Tara said, that they're not making excessive profits and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't really do a great job stressing that, but there was a lot that went into that. And after kind of pulling all the different levers and seeing where the best kind of result was, this was the culmination of that. So
They will be, because we have to calculate what their pilot is, they will be providing an audit each year that we can use. And also because they are an urban renewal entity, licensed by the state, they do have some restrictions on profits, et cetera. So there's other
So
eyes.
the
on
audit,
it.
we don't have to take their word on what their
Right.
profits are.
Right, and that's why we get the administrative fee, is because you're going to
Right.
want your expert to look over their audit and, flag anything that looks
It's not just over coffee,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, within the first 3 months of every year, they have to give you an audit from an actual accounting firm. That's, that represents their balance sheet, their revenue, so that way you make sure what you bill them was actually the appropriate amount as calculated.
All right. Sherry, David, anything else?
Yeah, just a couple comments. I just want to touch base quickly on the population question because it's interesting. If you look at census data going back the last few decades, our population in 1970 was higher by about 300 than it is today. It's actually been declining since then. And I'm not sure how much that difference it makes in terms of looking at our, cost for municipal services today versus 5 years from now. But it is, I mean, I'm not sure what the current number is in 2024, but it's a little less than 2,000, right? 1,900 and something. It was 2,270 in 1970, interestingly enough. That was, height of the baby boom. But the town has had a population actually higher than what our projected population would be with this development, for what that's worth. The other thing is, just on the issue of the schools, and we raised this issue when we met with the school district a couple of weeks ago. As everyone knows, we'll be having a discussion about the impact of the defeasance of our municipal debt resulting from the sale of the water utility. And obviously, that's going to require a lot of conversations with various stakeholders in the community to decide what the responsible uses of those savings. And I think it's good that that's happening more or less in the same time frame as this redevelopment. And the reason I'm tying those two things together is I think once we do get into the weeds of what contribution we might make to the school and what it might be, I think it's important for everyone to look at this holistically. In other words, look at it in the context of our overall finances to see, what's possible, what makes sense. And also, if it wasn't complex enough already, how does this factor into the economic impact of the pilot in the township on the borough? I mean, there's this kind of back and forth of shifting of, if you will, of the fiscal responsibility. So, but anyway, having said all that, it's my understanding, and I think this is a good way to do it, is the pilot agreement that we're talking about tonight is just the agreement. It doesn't contemplate how any of those revenues will be used. It's really a decision on adopting this, agreeing to this particular payment structure and schedule, which I think, based on Brian and Tara's fine work in negotiating, is the best that we're likely to get ever for this property. And then the decision of what we do with that revenue stream comes after. So I think they really, this is, Heidi, I completely understand your concerns, but I think there is universal support for the notion that we have to do something with the school district. And the school district, we opened that conversation with them. But I think tonight it's really about approving the pilot and the terms of the pilot. Then becomes the much more complex question of what we do with that revenue stream once it actually comes online.
Good point, Judy, thank you. Yeah. All right, anything else from Brian and Tara?
I'm good.
Sherry, you're good?
Yep.
All right, I will take a motion to open the meeting to the
I think,
public.
did we actually introduce?
Oh.
Yeah, I think,
That's a,
yeah, motion to introduce,
Oh, okay.
not
thank you.
introduce, it had to.
Motion to introduce ordinance number 906.
well, I'm sorry, I thought this was
Second reading.
Oh, no,
It's second reading.
it's right. So we really need to open up the public hearing.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay, all right, so again, motion to open the meeting to the public for comments.
So moved.
My second.
All right. Please come up and tell us your name.
It's Paul Vita. And question, I just want to make sure I understood you correctly about the developer will be paying for any of the traffic changes. Did I hear that correctly? Or any of the that impact Right.
Well, anything that's part of the site plan, you know,
Right.
this isn't a development where I think they're anticipating that, 1 mile away, they're going to change
Right.
a traffic, but any, roadway improvements that are within the vicinity, adjacent. I don't anticipate right now that there's going to be a pro rata share, because typically what you divide that up when you say, well, yes, it's benefiting the development maybe 80%, but 20% of those improvements benefit the borough. Just based on the location of this and what else is around it, any improvements they do are really going to be for the development, so it's going to be on them. But again, it's not that'll be part of the site plan, application, you'll have to set all those forth.
So questions, I don't really know how this works, but, being an architect, you can't always plan everything, you find out things later, the site tells you things, life goes on and you find out things. So for example, since I live in Lafayette and Hamilton is a narrow road, so is Lafayette. And I could see with 120 units, depending on how many people are still going to work the old fashioned way, and some of the other people that just stay at home. That street could become a one-way street in the future. Or there might be some changes on how you make left turns onto Broad Street. Right now, it's kind of difficult at certain times of the day. And if those things, we only discovered them a year after, does that mean the borough is paying for that? Or is that still, how does that work?
If it's not associated with the actual site plan, those will be development costs that are
To the borough.
on the borough, yeah. If it's not associated with the actual site plan.
So that just concerns me, because I don't know how, unless we're gonna have our own traffic engineers during the plan, it's a more of a planning board question.
Yeah, that was kind of the.
I was gonna say, I think that's the planning board, right?
Yeah, as part of the planning board process.
Right.
I assume the developer will have their own traffic engineer and the borough has their own traffic engineer, so those things will, be vetted during that process.
Thank you.
James Higgins, Borough resident, and I actually live over about 2 blocks where this is gonna be done. I think you made some really great points. I think the school district is a concern of a lot of us, even people who don't have kids in the school district anymore. I want to thank you. I think the presentation is the best one I've seen since I've been participating in these meetings. Just in, the old back of napkin math. So on average, the town pays $15,000 per student. That's just, you can Google that. This is 130 units, if I'm not mistaken. So you can look at about 1.5 students per unit, just mathematically on average. So that would be about $2.4 million per year it's gonna cost, 15,000 times 160 students. So there is a significant burden that's gonna be put onto the school district, that money has to come from somewhere, because the average student costs $51,000.
So the school's demographer has already said that there's only gonna be about 21 more students.
Okay, so that's great. The other words.
So it's the school's demographer.
I'm just giving like I said, back of that and that. I'm just first time seeing this news.
Yeah.
Second thing is, talking about I'm in, by the way, real estate, 30 years, both commercial, residential, multifamily. So, it's $44 million for the project, it's 130 units, so that makes it about $338,000 per unit if they were for sale. Which, over a 10-year period, they've made their money back at that cost. So this is a highly profitable, project. This is not a, place where we can control the cost. So this is for profit. And so my next question, is to, bear with me a second, the cost. So what was the thing we were just chatting about?
We were asking if.
Oh, that's it, thank you.
Right, if they just pay taxes.
Right, so, well, so there's two parts to that. So, if it's $120,000 that they're gonna be paying on average, what would they be paying if the project were to go forward without a pilot program? What am I comparing that against?
So to be 100% honest with you, the answer is zero, because it would not exist.
No, sorry. What I asked was, if the project were to go forward without a pilot program, what would be the estimated taxes that they would pay?
Okay, so the theoretical taxes would be $740,000
Per year.
per year in total. across all taxing entities.
That's it, thank you.
Anyone else?
Actually, I did have one other question, just for clarification. It's $120,000 because of the pilot program that comes into the town. And it's not taxed the same way as tax revenues, right? So you said that it's broken down, when tax revenue comes in, it comes, part of it goes to the town, some goes to the county, right? So it's $120,000. And then it's not accounted for the same way tax revenue is, correct? It uses $120,000 for just about anything you'd like to do.
It is not tax revenue, it is a revenue of the municipality, so it's like any other budget revenue of the town.
So they could, so that they use it exactly the same way, or is it gonna be used, is that money coming in a different way, can it be used different ways versus the way that it's required to as tax revenue?
Well, tax revenue can be used for anything, so yes, I suppose.
Is there anybody online waiting to ask questions?
I have no hands raised at the moment.
Okay, I'll take a motion to close the meeting to public. Second. Thank you. I guess we'll take a motion to adopt ordinance number 906. Is there anything else I have to do before that?
No, we have enough members, you're.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
That's a yes.
Is there a second?
We have to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Take a motion.
Very seconded.
Very seconded. All right, thanks, Sherry. Okay, now I guess we can vote.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Ms. Hook?
Yes.
Mr. Mackey?
Yes.
Ms. Steeler?
Yes.
Ms. Lennox?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Well, I come on in.
All right, Brian, come in.
I'll get this signed, Sarah, thanks for, I'll arrange to get the agreement all signed. Sent over. So who's from the borough, who should be signing, who's, because I can change it to.
Right.
Council President Mackey.
Mackie, I imagine, yeah. Okay, so this was 907.
Thank you, everyone. Let's give everyone 30 seconds as our professionals can I walk out. Ryan, all right, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'll get to the item 12. I know this is the one everyone was here to talk about. Ordinance 907. Second reading and public hearing on the Comcast cable franchise renewal. Read this by title.
An ordinance of the Borough of Hopewell, County of Mercer, New Jersey, granting renewal of municipal consent to Comcast of Mercer County LLC to construct, connect, operate, and maintain a cable television and communication system in the borough and amending chapter 16 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Hopewell, 1975.
My understanding is this will allow Comcast to remain service the borough. I believe after last meeting, our attorneys did get some concessions from them on some of the language. And unfortunately, the days of getting fire trucks or other massive payouts from the cable utilities to for the privilege of serving the community are gone. We unfortunately, I also understand this does not. There was no other interest of petition for other utilities looking for the service, and it doesn't change that we also are served by FiOS and other internet providers. This is really just a status quo. So I will open the meeting to the public for questions or comments at a public hearing on ordinance 907. Not surprisingly, seeing none. Just confirm there's no hands raised.
I didn't even look, sorry.
I'm right on the edge of my seat, expecting there to be dozens. Thank you. I'll take a motion to close the public hearing on ordinance 907. Do I have a second? I heard Deb and Anthony, all in favor? Thank you. Next, we have our consent agenda resolution.
Wait, did you adopt?
No, you didn't.
I really am not that interested in cable. Yeah, so apologies. If people want their TV, we will ensure that it happens. Apologies. I'll take a motion to adopt ordinance 907.
I'll second, sure.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Ms. Hook?
Yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Ms. Steeler,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
And my role as the TV onceler to shut down cable for the film. Apologies for that. Our next, our consent agenda, item 13, resolutions 116 through 122. Couple of items we know at the beginning of our updated water system. This would authorize the execution of the contract and submission to the state for final approval and continuing with that process of transition, which we expect to take at least through the late spring, early summer. We have, as was mentioned by our new liaison to the watershed, a resolution entering or authorizing us to enter into a shared service agreement with Montgomery Township, who is the lead municipality on the regional watershed improvement plan. Again, thanks to the watershed for their leadership there. We have a authorization for our special counsel for affordable housing to enter into a settlement with Fair Share Housing, which is something that needs to happen by the end of the year. So I really appreciate their work on that, and everyone involved in our housing plan for getting that together. And then finally, the escrow agent and escrow agreement that is also related to the water contract. That is the agreement and company that will hold the initially, I believe, $320,000 escrow deposit for that. So with that, if there are any anything that anyone would like to pull out for discussion or questions, happy to take that now. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion for resolutions 116 to 122.
I'll move 116 to 122.
Is there a second?
My second.
All right.
Mr. Fuller,
Yes.
Ms. Hook,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Ms. Steeler,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, I'll take a motion for proof of claims of payment in our updated packet.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Fuller,
Yes.
Ms. Hook,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Ms. Steeler,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Next, we've got a proclamation, not as much fanfare as for Councilman Mackey's, but in connection with I believe, I hope I have this right, with a first grade field trip. We have a formal proclamation thanking them. I'll have a little update in my presentation, but ultimately, for the second year in a row, we've had a field trip of first graders from Hopewell Elementary come and learn about government. That happened a few weeks ago, and this commemorates that. And just so no one is surprised, they all voted to move forward with the proposition to have Freddie the Frog be the mascot of the town. as well.
There was one vote for pizza though.
There was that's pizza as the mascot.
All right, next council liaison reports. I'm all akimbo now, I guess, with people online.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. Mine are pretty simple. So open space has not met. We will be meeting shortly. The green team here in the borough, we worked with the Sauerland Conservancy and the EDC to decorate the trees which are in the planters. The birds are definitely enjoying the feast, and so volunteers are going to continue to decorate because the birds are very grateful. They think it's great. But it was, I mean, the workshop, we held a workshop, and it was actually a really wonderful event. We had like 24 people and families that had never met before. It was a really fun event. In other news, our bench from Trex is going to be delivered to DPW shortly. I just wanted to make sure to get it here before the end of the year so that they didn't not deliver it. We will be placing it in the spring. We're hoping that we can place it in the location of the farmer's market. But we obviously need property owner permission to do that. If not, we will find a place on borough property. And in 2026, just our plans, we are going to continue to collect the plastic film for Nextrex, always looking for volunteers. We will commit to a monthly tent at the farmer's market from May to November as a green team. And we will hold 3 additional community potlucks, and those dates will be announced shortly as soon as I book the train station. And not really official committee, but downtown Hopewell likes to, wants to thank DPW for getting those snowflakes up. It's the first time in a long time they've gotten up in, before Thanksgiving, so that was really lovely. And the Downtown Hopewell Annual Passport is going to be this coming weekend, Friday through Sunday at 10 local shops throughout town. And we are also pleased to be working with Borough Neuro that for Sunday and Monday evening is the rebirth of a community tradition, which used to be known as Reindeer Lane and has been renamed Hopewell Holiday Lane, and will be. And we're just very grateful that Borough Neuro kind of took this on and turned it into a local business friendly event. It will feature the merchandise from merchants here in town but will be operated the same way Reindeer Lane was, with little Girl Scout helpers or, volunteer helpers and.
Entertain the parents while they.
And yes, and entertain, and they've got music and there's cocoa and yes, so.
Thank you. I'm gonna go. Anthony, you wanna go next? Outside the end and then online, I don't know, all over the place.
No, I've never not been asked to speak first. I want to do. So Board of Health updates. There are a few things to report. The memorandum of understanding that Capital Health was signed. That's for health education services. Some accessible health services are organized on a regular basis by the health department. Amongst them, for example, there'll be a bone density screening at the Township Municipal Building on December 11th. In addition, what perhaps most people wouldn't realize is that the health department actually tracks a lot of public health indicators. Normally this time of year, you'd expect to see quite a few things spike for viruses like COVID and flu, for example. In fact, we were very, very low and not a lot to report. A couple of things. I'm not sure if this was mentioned last time. I wasn't here in November, but a couple of questions. One was about the status of the revised website for the town and the accessibility of Board of Health resources. And then secondly, I think I told you, Ryan, about the interest in adding alternate members to the Board of Health, and if you can have an ordinance for that.
Yep, so on the ordinance, which I'm gonna have to look at for next year, because we can't have them that span between years. So we'll look at some of the Board of Health stuff comes from state statute, so whether we have full discretion to add people. But if we have volunteer interest, I'm totally in favor of making seats for them. So I'm happy to work with Art and Jerry on that next year. Jerry, I don't know if you have an update. I know where for the website, currently it's in the process where the vendor is kind of building out, I believe, the templates and stuff, and we're hoping to see something from them soon in the couple of months kind of timeframe. But
When I had my first meeting with them in preparation of this, it was around the middle of August, if I remember correctly. And at that time, the contractor said to expect around 4 to 6 months. So we're not quite at 4 months yet, but I can do a follow-up. And we're not as complex and large as some of their other clients, so that could be moving faster than others. But I'll follow up and get back to you ASAP.
And on the current site, if there's stuff added, just feel free to send it to me and Jerry, and we can vet whether it can get approval to put it up and do that. So thank you. All right,
Okay, the building committee has not met real recently, but I don't know, Brian, if you were gonna talk about this, but the Knights family was kind enough to donate a number of holiday wreaths to decorate the train station, and the DPW Alan and his team were kind enough to get them up today so that everything's ready for this weekend, as there are a number of fun events going on at the train station, so we're excited about that. And the recreation committee has not met either. I will get started at the beginning of next year to plan what's going on then. The library board met this week on Tuesday. They're still working on the survey that they're trying to get people, so I'm still encouraging people to go on and take the survey so that Barbara and her team can, gauge the interest of different things in town and know what kind of programming to put forward. Although they do an amazing job, and personnel also has not met. That's it.
Sherry, you want to go next?
Yes, I'm gonna try. Two quick things really. One is about the borough's emergency medical unit got a huge recognition from the New Jersey Department of Health and the Office of Emergency Medical Services. They were nominated as Pre-Hospital Program of the Year. which is pretty impressive for our tiny town. Out of all the emergency medical units in the state, it was a huge honor for them. And um, I'm especially bringing that up this month if you're feeling generous with your holiday giving. You know, I attend their meetings and their budgets are so razor thin. And part of what makes for a really impressive department is the people they recruit with their training and their development and their support, and that all that takes money. So if you got an extra few dollars laying around, they could use your support. And speaking of, Operation Santa is coming up. I don't know, Brian, if you're going to talk about that. No.
Thinking in my head, so give the details.
Okay, so I'll let you say the dates, and then
No, I don't have the details. You go.
me say it.
Yes.
Oh, okay. The gift drop-offs are at the firehouse December 7th, 8th, and 9th from 6 to 9 p.m., but also at the freight shed during the holiday lane that Heidi mentioned on December 7th and 8th from 6:30 to 8:30, and then gift delivery is December 14th, 15th, 16th. And they ask for a $25 donation per gift, and it's really an awesome thing they do. So EDC submitted a PO request to change the signs, the old HBA signs, the arrows that point to different businesses. So I'm very, very happy that project is moving along, and hopefully we see some actual sign changes next year. So that's very exciting. And then Shade Tree and Senior Advisory did not meet this month.
Right. Council President Mackey, would you like to go next?
All right. So, as you all know, we got out the letters for the PFAS notifications, and thanks to everybody who did all the production, Reggie and Christine and Dave. I'm sure it's always a huge Herculean effort to get those things out. It'll be a great day when we don't have to send those public notices out anymore. Not a whole lot else to report on water that we haven't already talked about, although I think now that the referendum results have been certified and are official, and since we've adopted the resolution tonight approving the contract, we'll reach out to the DEP tomorrow and let them know that we've officially decided that we're no longer going to pursue the the grant, the federal grant, because they pinged us a few weeks ago and asked if we could kind of officially release them of that, obligation, or not obligation, but declare our intention not to pursue the grant further. And I think that's really important because there are a lot of other small communities that need that money and they'd like to free up those funds. So unless anybody objects, the understanding was that we would wait until after the ballot results were certified and so on, which they have been. So that's just one little administrative thing to do. Obviously I'm still on duty through the end of the month, so there'll be a lot of whatever little details related to water I'll be doing, and I'll be around after that. So whatever transition things we need to do, I'll be here. I do want to make sure that files that I've accumulated over the years that I have electronically, that I transfer things to Jerry, so the borough and anybody else who needs them has copies of, spreadsheets and other things I've been working with that may or may not be useful. A lot of them are not going to be of any use once the system is sold, but and again, I'm not going anyplace. So planning board. Pardon? What's that?
We'll see what Barry has to say about that.
Right. Well, it's all subject to spousal approval. So, and planning board didn't meet. Planning board, there was nothing on the agenda. Just to mention that the Hopewell 57 site plan application, my understanding is that will come up for review in January. I'll be attending as a as a member of the audience, not as a planning board member. So it'll be interesting. And so that's about all I have to report, other than thank you again so much for that really wonderful proclamation. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be there in person, but I thought it wouldn't be fair to share whatever bug I have with everyone else in the room. I'm looking at Sherry and she looks like she's in about the same shape. But thank you. That was really thoughtful. And again, it's been such a privilege and a joy to serve with this community and to serve with all of you. And I really appreciate it. And I appreciate all your support. You.
Negative.
Thank you.
Couple updates from me. I mentioned that first grade field trip that was on the 14th. I just want to thank Councilwoman Weaver for kind of spearheading that, our Public Works Department, Hopewell Township Police Department, our administrator and clerk for their work with the kids. Also, Councilwoman Hook and Steeler for joining as well. It was just a fun annual event. I'm glad to see that move forward. We got some great kids in our community. A minor kind of health update, but there is a grant opportunity that we didn't submit for the grant. We put our name in to be possibly considered to be invited to submit for a grant for funds to kind of add a health element to our master plan. So we'll see if that's something we can look at. Other grant news, there's a meeting with Senator Kim potentially for, every year we ask for appropriations from our federal and local legislators. It's very rare that we get them, but we try. Put in for all the projects we can think of, and sometimes some things stick. Small update that you might have seen, and I think our administrator has in his report an update on the demonstration project, or calming demonstration project on Greenwood. Without getting into the specific details, there has been, I want to thank our administrator, Jerry, and our counterparts in Hopewell Township for some continued discussions on both revisions to existing shared services and some potential new shared services with Hopewell Township. I'm looking forward to being able to perhaps announce and further discuss those in the future. Mentioned the watershed. Thank you again for what they're doing. Affordable housing, noted that we did authorize our attorney to work out that final settlement, and hopefully that does it with our revised plan. The requirement this round, which is a 10-year block to administer and determine, one, how many affordable housing units your town should have and how you're going to accommodate that, is right now. And for the end of the year, the requirement is to do a settlement with the Fair Share Housing Center, a nonprofit kind of advocacy for that, in a kind of sped up court process, and then implement them next year. So I'm excited. It'll be a lot of work, but that's our commitment as a community to do that. For the mayor's coffee, we could do it next Wednesday again at 1 to 2. Well, actually, not coffee. I don't have coffee on afternoons. It would be crazy. But drop-in hours again next Wednesday from 1 to 2. But the next Saturday coffee will be Saturday the 13th at 9 a.m. And weather permitting, we're going to have that at the Public Works Building on Burton Avenue. It'll be one of the opportunities to see the facilities and start getting an idea of what the potential renovations might be, but ultimately it's a spot that a lot of us haven't really had reason to be at, just to kind of get an idea of what unfortunately the conditions of our currently of our team are deal with. Excited to share some small additional steps towards I'll say the recognition of diverse and inclusive community that we are. And this year, in addition to the Christmas wreaths, and again, I thank Councilwoman Steeler for recognizing the Knight family for their donation for the wreaths this year. We'll recognize Hanukkah and Kwanzaa with small displays here at Town Hall, and we're working to invite everyone to a small ceremony, again, weather permitting, on Sunday the 14th at 4:30 at Pump House number 4 on the corner of Llewellyn and Model for a menorah lighting ceremony and a relighting of the tree that's there. Time the first night of Hanukkah this year, so we hope to have members of the community there. And again, excited to have some of our other holiday symbols join with the tree that we've had for the past couple of years. And there is a big mural out there that barely fit in my car, so hopefully that works out. It's a good thing for us. I do want to wish everyone a wonderful holiday season and New Year's. A reminder, our reorganization meeting will be Monday, January 5th. That's something we set at the beginning of the year, but we have a requirement to do it within the first couple days of the year and need to get it done before our planning board meeting for appointments. So it is not Thursday, it is Monday the 5th. That'll be all over the website with reminders, but just note that as many times as I possibly can so people know. And to all our volunteers, outside professionals, staff, engaged residents, and everyone working to make a difference here in this town, I really want to thank you. If you're interested in doing more or volunteering more, like one of our boards or commissions, please let me know and we can talk about possible opportunities. You are all what makes this place special. And I know I speak for everyone up here and on Zoom in expressing my appreciation for every meeting, every question, every idea, and every contribution. It's what makes this place work. To my colleagues on council, this was a challenging year of change, and the work that you all did went into making this a better place. I'm very proud of everything that we have done together. I'm very appreciative of the work of our team, from our administrator, attorney, Reggie, our clerk, our assistant clerk, UPW, everyone involved here, and everyone at council. I'm proud to work with you and thankful for all that you do. I look forward to, particularly the coming weeks, talking to everyone on this side of the dais and on Zoom, and with our new member who will join us next year about what each of your priorities are, so we can start kind of figuring out what next year looks like. But I'm very excited for what the future holds for our town and very proud of what this community has been able to do. With that, Jerry, if you, I'll yield to you for your report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple items. I won't duplicate anything that's already been said. I submitted my report in writing. That's available if anybody would like to see it. Just a couple of comments related to the DPW open house on December 13th. I did speak with our director, Alan, and he intends to be there. After speaking with him, we felt that it would be best for him to be there. And he agreed, just to be able to answer any real direct questions that come up, so we don't have to get back to him afterwards. And he wants to really talk about the realities of working in the current facility. I think anybody who attends will be able to see that, but to be able to hear that from one of the people who served this community for so long is going to have an extra impact on that tour. And I think that's going to be very beneficial. Just real quickly, as it relates to the watershed improvement plan, we had a not to exceed of $8,500 in there. That amount is still in flux. We may come back seeking more, and it may end up being less for two reasons. One, we don't know how much of the grant the Montgomery is going to receive from the state DEP. And we also don't know how many communities will participate in it as well. So both of those could adjust that amount either way. I'll keep you posted on how that progresses. Related to the budget, I'll be sending an email out probably to the finance committee within the next week or two to discuss the 2026 budget, to have some early discussions. As expected, January 1 or January 5, when we have the reorg, we'll be operating a temporary budget, which is usually 26.25% of the annual budget. I don't expect the introduction to go that long. I don't expect to be on a temporary budget for anything more than a month or two. Our budget is, relatively simple in the grand scheme of things. We're a small community, and I already have a fairly decent idea of where that's going to land. But I'll be talking to the finance committee, and we'll have a couple meetings on that in anticipation of an introduction, hopefully sometime in February or March. Just a comment regarding what one of the residents said earlier in the night about the grants, being on the website and on the user-friendly site. I probably misspoke on that. I definitely would refer people to our regular budget. I think I used the word that's user-friendly, which I think it is, but then user-friendly refers to the user-friendly budget, which is anything but user-friendly, and that's a function of the state government, not a function of us. But if you look at our PDF document online of each annual budget, you'll see the list of grants on sheet 9. Notwithstanding that, all the questions are related to what can be put online, the budget, the bonds, etc. They're all very reasonable questions. And I've had the opportunity, as a manager to go to various events over the years and work for a national organization to see what other states does. And those questions would be very easily answerable with the click of a button in 47 other states. New Jersey has just a very complicated finance system. We're limited to which vendors we can use just based on the way we structure our budget. And we don't have the level of creativity. Doesn't mean we're not going to do it. We're still going to do it. It just takes a lot more extra steps than one might expect. The North Greenwood traffic calming plan continued today on Hart Avenue with the bump outs and the line striping and some bollards there. As you know, some of the initial bollards that were put up on Washington were hit within the first day or two of them being up. It's hard to really figure out what happened there since we didn't see it, but the contractor who was out today, same contractor who was out last time, is going to replace those bollards. And in addition, if they get hit again, we're going to look at what other options might be available because they may not be the best. The ones closer to the cemetery on the northern side stayed up untouched. The ones on the southern side were touched. I suspect that might have been, one vehicle having an incident because the other ones were not touched. But in any event, I'll keep you posted on how that goes. Lastly, as it relates to the park grant, which came up at our last meeting, there's a Green Acres grant with a deadline of February 26th. That's going to require some aggressive discussions with the council and the community between now and February 26th, because part of that grant is submitting a very detailed plan on what we're looking to do. And a requirement of that grant is to have public input in the form of public hearings. In addition to regular council meetings, they made very clear that they don't just want to have public hearing as part of the council meeting. They want to see separate sessions, in addition to those. So we're going to have to meet very soon and have a relatively firm plan of action of what we're going to do, what decisions we're going to make going forward with the park. And that coincides with the other recreation grant that we have. Once we decide that, we'll be able to figure out how to best use the grant that we have. Other than that, I just echo the mayor's sentiments to wish everybody a very happy holidays. On behalf of my office, I hope you enjoy it with your families. I know I will. And, one of my great gifts is being a public servant. And I say this every year in every community I'm ever in. I enjoy public service, and it's a gift to be able to serve the community and especially this community as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. With that, I'll open up the meeting to the public for our second public comment session. I don't think we've ever really stopped anyone, but we'll try to keep the second one to 3 minutes. But if you're here in person, come up to the front. If you're on the online, please push the raise hand button. Seeing none, either virtually or online, I will ask for a motion to close the public portion of the meeting. Second. All in favor? You'll now seek a motion to adjourn, and I'll ask if Council President Mackey would make this motion.
So moved. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Second. Thank you, Harry. All in favor? All right. Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.